Hello everybody and welcome to the monthly stats for May. I just want to apologise for the late arrival of this video. I usually do them as soon as I get my bill from Octopus for the month, but I didn't get one when I normally get them this month, and having spoken to Octopus, it's because apparently my smart meter has not sent them 3 days worth of data from May, and they're trying to get it from the machine. So in the meantime they've billed me for the periods either side of the 3 days that are missing, and I've filled in the missing 3 days using my own data to generate the bill as it would be for May, and it should be, you know, within sort of 20 pence or something of what Octopus would eventually produce, but it's good enough for the sake of the video. So yeah, with all that in mind, let's get into the facts and figures. So in May we generated 974 kilowatt hours. That is 136 kilowatt hours more than in April. We haven't quite crossed the megawatt hour this month, but we came very close. It would be nice to be able to generate a megawatt hour, but I'm not sure if we'll do it. We'll see. We imported 150 kilowatt hours of electricity, and we exported 105 kilowatt hours. So in total we used 1,124 kilowatt hours of electricity in May. That's slightly down on April, probably just a few less car journeys, but they're fairly similar values. So the cost of that, if you didn't have any solar panels or battery system, and you were just on one of the standard tariffs that Octopus does, the cost of that would have been £430. Now that's obviously quite a lot, but you've got to remember that that includes driving. You know, we have the 2 EVs, so that includes your petrol costs effectively. So if you don't have an EV and you're thinking about, oh wow, that's a lot of money, if you total up how much you're spending on petrol in a month, then you probably find that you're approaching that anyway. Having the solar panels saved us a total of £361.07 this month. As I've mentioned before, I've had the solar system long enough now that it has actually recouped its original cost. So that £361 saving is a genuine £361 saving. By being on the Octopus Go tariff, and potentially using the battery to charge from that at night, although we haven't really done that in May, but we have charged the cars a couple of times during the night period, which you'll see later in the import section. By using the Go tariff during the night, that cheap rate to charge the cars, that saved us £29.28, and that's, you know, the difference between if we'd have had to do that during the daytime when it is more expensive. And our FIT export for the month of May is about £251. It's not quite accurate. When I took the reading for April, it wasn't for the full month, so some of this figure in May actually belongs a little bit to April, and there's 3 days of June also in that figure. That's because I forgot to take the generation meter reading on the 1st of the month. I did it on the 3rd or the 4th. So it would actually be slightly a bit less than that. But by the time we get to the end of the year, it'll all sort of tally up properly anyway. So the total cost to us for that 1,124 kilowatt hours of electricity that we used in May was £41.07, and that's as near as damn it what my Octopus bill would be when they do eventually give me those other 3 days that are missing. £13.37 of that is the standing charge. So that means when you take that off and work out the average unit price for the month, we get a figure of 2.46 pence per kilowatt hour. That is obviously an improvement on April, which was I think about 4 pence a kilowatt hour. So yeah, big difference there. I'm very pleased with that. So as I mentioned already, our electricity bill was £41.07. The feed-in payment is around sort of £250. So our energy costs again for May were zero, and in fact we've made money on the FIT payments, which will be useful when we get to the winter months and we have to start importing a lot of energy. Then these FIT payments will help cover that, so that by the end of the whole year we're probably fairly square. Now let's look at the pie charts for the month. Here's the first one. This is how much of the generated energy we managed to keep for ourselves and how much we had to export. And you can see that yeah, we managed to use 973, which is about 90% of all our generated electricity, which means yeah, we exported just under 10% of it. I'd have preferred that to be 95% used, but at this time of year there's just so much solar that it's really hard to sort of to use it all. But you know, using 90% of it I think is pretty good going. And if we compare that to April, you can see that yeah, it's we did a better job of as a percentage of keeping it in April than we have done in May. But as I say, it's because we've generated that bit more, so it gets harder to find places to put it if one of the cars is not here because my wife's using it for work. Let's look at the next one. This is just a breakdown of the generated electricity by its source. It's yeah, mostly from my 5 kilowatt inverter, the Solax or Solar X, and then the other three make up the remaining part. They're all fairly similar now at this time of year. I'm quite pleased with how much I'm getting from the 1 kilowatt of panels on the shed. But yeah, if we look at if we just compare that to April, you can see that the Growatt 2 kilowatt makes up a much bigger proportion in April. That's the vertical panels on the wall of my house, and that's because even though the days are longer now than they were in April, the sun was at a much better angle to hit the panels on the wall in April. Now it's really, really high in the sky, so it's striking those vertical panels, very steep angle, and so you don't generate quite as much. So that's why that's as a proportion of the total has reduced a little bit in May. It'll probably get even less in June. Now let's look at the mix of the energy that we have used in May, and you can see that yeah, big green block, most of it was generated ourselves. 87.4% was self-generated, and then what's that, 7% was from the cheap night rate from Octopus, and then the other 5.6% was from the expensive time. And there's not a huge amount I can do about that. unless I get a fully off-grid system, which I would love to do, and maybe if we eventually move house or something, I might do that, but it's not worth me doing that while I have a FIT payment coming in for the solar system that I've got, because if I went to an off-grid system, then I would effectively lose out on that, doing that. So it's just not worth it. But if we compare that to April, you can see just how much more we're generating this month for ourselves than we were in April. See, in April it was, you know, only about 2/3, and now it's, you know, 90%. So yeah, big improvement. Let's see what that looks like in June, because at the time I'm recording this, it's obviously part way through June. We've had this incredibly long sunny spell, so I think we're going to get really big numbers for June. Okay, our best day was the 27th of May, and on that day we generated 51.5 kilowatt hours. So we broke the magic 50 kilowatt hours in a day, which is great. Always like to break the 50 kilowatt hour mark, but you need pretty much a perfect day to do it. So yeah, you can see on the graph here there was a little bit of disruption first thing in the morning around sort of between 8 and 9 o'clock. There's some cloud must have come in front of the sun or something, but after that it's pretty much a clear sky day. So good production there, and yeah, I can see that the green line is my shed solar, and it's pretty much generating all through the day. So it had somewhere to put the power, so it didn't start ramping down from about 2 o'clock because the batteries are full or something. So that gives me extra generation. That helped me get over that 50 kilowatt hours in the day. And you can see that the GrowWatt 2 line, which is the sort of yellow line, that's the vertical panels on the wall. It stays quite low up until about just after midday, and then it suddenly ramps up significantly, and that's just caused by the shadow now cast by the eaves on the top of the house, because the sun's getting so high. It just casts a shadow on the panels until the sun gets to a certain position, and then it sort of just about clears it. So the production suddenly ramps up. But yeah, you can lose so much just from having even a small bit of shading. Our worst day was on the 8th of May, and on that day we generated just 10 kilowatt hours, or 10.5. And yeah, the graph for that day looks like this, and it is not too bad, but obviously there was quite a bit of cloud around that day. Still a hell of a lot better than what you get in the winter, and more than enough to cover what our normal household usage would be for the day. So yeah, that's fine. Now let's have a look at the import graphs for each day of May. You can see that yeah, they're mostly no power being used at all. We're pretty much off grid. There's a couple of days where we had to charge the cars at night, and then the rest of the month is just all running off grid effectively. But yeah, apart from those, I think there's about 5 days in there where we actually pulled some power from the grid. The rest of the time it was all off grid. So it's about 26 days in May that were off grid, and the biggest consecutive run was 10 days. So in the year to date, a total number of off grid days is 41, and the biggest consecutive streak for the year is now that 10-day streak. I'd just like to say thanks to the person who used my referral link to come to Octopus Energy. That came through for me in May. I hope you enjoy being with Octopus. They are really good, even you know, if you've got a problem and you talk to them on Twitter or something like that, they're really quick to respond, and they're usually really helpful. I've still got no complaints, so hopefully you'll like it. I won't mention your name, you know who you are, but thanks again for using my code, and if anyone else wants to join Octopus, here is my link on the screen now. Well, that's everything for this month, so I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.